What's up, y'all? Welcome. Part 3 of 9 of the Modern Men and Women series, where I talk about the relationships between men and women basically being broken. And more importantly than anything, if you ask me, especially from a biblical point of view, unnatural, right? So, what I'm going to talk about today is feminists and simps. Because there's a lot of information. What I'm saying is not new. One of the reasons why I didn't want to do this series, and I'm like, shoot, is because everything I'm saying, only a few things other people ain't gonna say. But if you really search the internet, or if you really buy books or talk to people about what I'm saying, I'm not saying anything new. That's one of the reasons why I didn't want to cover it. But then as I was putting topics in, I got a bank full of topics for my YouTube channel, right? And then I noticed that this series was getting all the way up to 9 parts. I'm like, man, let me just get this off. Man, let me get this out of my face. But anywho's, now people talk about the Jezebel spirit. But a lot of folks don't really believe in the Bible like that. You know, so they don't really read. So I could, what I'm going to say is going to sound like I got the inside scoop, but I know more because I actually read it. Because Jezebel is not the only one we need to look out for. You got to remember, if you're going to be talking about biblical women and how things go down, as a man to protect yourself out here, it's not just Jezebel. There's Eve, right? And then there's Delilah. A lot of folks forgot about Delilah, about what Delilah did to Samson. Samson was a very strong man, not only mentally, but also physically. And he was a judge. Now, judges, back in the Bible, judges were basically the kings before kings. Israel, the Israelites, they didn't have kings. They had judges of each tribe. Each tribe had a judge, and that was basically the prince. Then they said that they wanted kings, and God gave them kings, all right? So from a biblical standpoint, the Jezebel spirit. Now, what happened in the Bible for y'all to know about the Jezebel spirit, that she first appeared in 1 Kings, all right? Now, what Jezebel did is that she worshipped a god other than the God of Israel, even though she was the queen of Israel, because Ahab was a king. Or was it Israel, or was it Judah? It was one of them. Anywho's, now the things that make the Jezebel spirit is the characteristics of the Jezebel from the Bible. Now what Jezebel did was that she used the power of her husband, because her husband was a very passive dude who sat back and just let her act however she wanted to act. She used her power to do the things that she did. Once upon a time, her husband Ahab, King Ahab, went down to a man. I forgot the man's name, but he said, look here, if you give me your inheritance, then I'll give you a different land. If you give me your vineyard, if you give me your vineyard or your vineyard, I will go ahead and give you a different property. And then the man told him no. And some of y'all might be thinking, like, why would somebody tell a king no? Because this isn't one of those other religions. This is Israel. He said, I can't give you this because this is the inheritance of my father. King Ahab should have never asked that man for that inheritance, because the Lord don't play that. Everybody has an inheritance. God gives everybody something that goes for them and them alone. King Ahab should have never asked that man for that inheritance, because the Lord don't take that. He don't play around with that. That was his father's inheritance. All of his fathers, all the men in his family had that vineyard before he did. All right. Now, when it comes to inheritance, on a side note, the tribe of Levi, the priests, the sons of Aaron, they have no earthly inheritance. If you are of the tribe of Levi, you have no earthly inheritance. Your inheritance is the Lord himself. Okay? So every other tribe has an inheritance, a land. But the tribe of Levi doesn't have an inheritance. They have a land, they have that, but the Lord himself is the tribe of Levi's inheritance. Now Jezebel, so Ahab had went back to the house. He started crying and stuff, and then Jezebel was like, what's wrong with you? Why ain't you gonna eat no food? He said, I went down there and asked him for his vineyard. He told me no. And she's like, all right, don't worry about that. I'll take care of it. So what she did was she went around, she made a letter, right? And she made a letter, a king's decree. And then she had signed the letter, but the letter had basically said that, to kill the dude who denied kill the man who denied King Ahab the vineyard, kill him by the king's decree. And then after that happened, she got the man killed, but to sign the king's decree, you need the king's signature. She did this and put King Ahab's power. You know what I'm saying? So she misused Ahab's power. That's basically what happened. And that's one characteristic of a Jezebel. A Jezebel she would get with a powerful man who's also passive, as in he doesn't check his women, or he doesn't, look here. She would get with a powerful man, socially powerful man, but he's weak in the spirit. It means he doesn't check people on disrespect, including his woman. And she would use the man's power for her personal gain, or to do whatever it is she think is right. All right. Now, the second characteristic of a Jezebel, right, is the Jezebel. She is a fake prophetess. Okay, that means she pretends like she's into religion, but she's really not. All she's into is the benefits of religion. Jezebel was the one who was getting all the Lord's prophets killed. She was killing the Lord's prophets and replacing the Lord's prophets with false prophets, prophets of Baal. You know, that's another sign of a Jezebel, is that she pretends to be religious, but she's really not. Another sign of the Jezebel is that she's a slut. She's a hoe. Yep, that's right. Jezebel is a slut and a hoe. So even though she might be with a man, she be married, but guess what Jezebel is out there doing? She out there flirting with other men. She might even be screwing them. Whatever she can get out of a man by using her sexual appeal, that's exactly what she's going to do. That's the third sign of a Jezebel. All right. The fourth sign of a Jezebel is kind of like the second sign. She's a witch. She's into witchcraft. Instead of going through the Lord or waiting on God to work in her life, she's going to go and seek out these other occultic methods and try to get her stuff done like that. That's the fourth sign of a Jezebel. All right. The fifth sign of a Jezebel, like I said, because she's a hoe, is that she's unnatural. She's insecure within her appearance. So she doesn't do a lot of things on her own power. She's either using some man or using some form of witchcraft or using somebody somehow, some way to get things done for her. Because when the judgment of the Lord had came for Ahab and for Jezebel, he had anointed a new king. His name was Jehu. Jehu was about business. Jehu's first order was to kill Jezebel and to get that wickedness. You got to get that witchcraft, that harlotry. And that's exactly what happened. He showed up. He said, "I'm here for Jezebel." The Lord told me to come see about Jezebel because she had filled the land with witchcraft and whoredom. And then she had heard Jehu was on his way. And guess what she did? It said she painted her face, which means that she put on makeup. She thought that Jehu was going to show up, see how pretty she was, and not do the Lord's work. Jehu said, "All right, I see what it is. He's playing games." And then he looked up, and he said, "All right, who's with the Lord and who's with Jezebel?" And they're like, "I'm with the Lord." If y'all with the Lord, throw Jezebel off the balcony. They threw her over. But guess who threw her over? This is the fifth sign of Jezebel. Guess who threw her over? Eunuchs. What's a eunuch? A eunuch is a castrated man. Back in ancient times, they were castrated, as in they really cut off their ding-dongs, you know what I'm saying, and their balls. But modern terms, a castrated man is a man who lacks testosterone, or a man who could be around women and then be on some "I serve women" stuff. Basically, pussy worshippers is what a castrated man is, you know. So that's the fifth sign of Jezebel. She surrounds herself with men who lack masculinity or men who worship women. And I know I took a long time to talk about that because you're nearly 9 minutes in. But that's what I want to talk about. That Jezebel, that stuff right there, and that eunuch stuff that I just mentioned, that's the equivalent of feminists and simps. Because that's what feminists do. They get in relationships with men. Because a lot of feminists, they're actually man-hating but man-using women. They hate men. They really hate men. But they still use them. They still get married. You know what I'm saying? To avoid loneliness and so they can use a man. Because there are things that goes on in this world that are more respectable or more likely to be done if a man is the one in the front. And that's what these feminists do. They get with men for the social power that a man may hold. But they don't really like the man. And these feminists, they get with men who don't check them. They get with men who they can act crazy around, disrespect, get fat, or slut themselves out but still have a man to go to. They get with men that they can do whatever they want to do, and that man's still going to be at home waiting on them like a puppy dog. All right? And then the simps are like the eunuchs, the castrated men who are just there to be in support of anything that a woman does. That's what these simps are. And for the rest of y'all who I had read recently, I was on Reddit. They were like, what's up with simps? What's up with that word? I'm like, me and my cousin was saying the word simp back in 07. It's not new. Like, me and my cousin was really talking about, we was calling cats simps back in 07. It's not new. But anywho's, back to these simps. They're the ones that's always saying, oh, no, you got to respect women. I'm the one who say you got to respect men and women. I'm the one who say you got to respect people. If you can't respect people in general, something's wrong with you. That's what I'm talking about. But these simps, no matter what happens or what goes on, they're always backing up women. These white knights, these punks. But you know, I used to say, and we used to say too, back before 07 and all that, we just called you a weenie. For real, we called you whipped. Because there are certain ways that even if you do behave, like, we understand, okay, you really like homegirl, girl got to you, okay, you simping a little bit, because most dudes simp a little bit at least. But when you really out here defending women, maybe dudes out here, some female get to talking crazy to some other dude, and then the dude get mad, and then it be some random dude trying to fight some other dude over a broad he don't know. That's that Jezebel and eunuch stuff. So it's about passive men and aggressive women. The Jezebel Ahab relationship, the feminist simp relationship, okay? The Jezebel and eunuch relationship. And that's what we have. We have a bunch of pussy worshipping dudes out here that act like women are queens or goddesses. If women are queens and goddesses, it's only because men are pussy worshippers. You know what I'm saying? To be a queen, to be a king, you know what I'm saying? To be a goddess or a god, it's a matter of character and territory. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you look in religions, gods and goddesses, they're usually the god or goddess of something, like fertility, for example, which a lot of women worship, any god of fertility. You know what I'm saying? You can't be out here slutting it up, getting fat. And then a lot of chicks these days are dumb. They're really stupid. You know what I'm saying? They do well in school, they got good jobs, but when it comes to casual conversation, they just lack knowledge about life. You can't be socially retarded and still be a goddess. You can't be a hoe and still be a queen. You can't be. But the problem is that a lot of dudes out here are pushing forward these kind of behaviors in women, and now we have a sloppy thing going on where a woman basically can't do no wrong. And I'm telling you, if I say something about a woman, you know who's more likely to try to fight me over it? Some dude. And it's kind of scary when you think about it from my viewpoint. I be worried about some of these dudes out here, for real though, man. All that negativity aside, dude, I'm worried about some of y'all simps. You know why? Because you might get yourself killed out here trying to protect a woman or trying to look brave. You know what I'm saying? You might get yourself really beat up out here, like for real. You don't know who you run up on. Like, don't be out here just trying to, you know what I'm saying, hear both sides of the story. And honestly, if a woman isn't under your covering and she don't show you proper respect, don't defend her. If it's not the woman that you're with, if it's not your sister, if it's not a female family member or a woman that you're actually in a relationship with, and she respects you, not only do you have to have a good relationship with the woman, she has to respect you. Don't protect a woman who doesn't listen to you. Because at the end of the day, when things get physical, you know who's going to be fighting? A man. Do you really want to be out here getting beat up, you know what I'm saying, black eye, bloody nose, over a woman who don't even respect you? And the reason why you're in this situation in the first place is because you don't respect men in general. But I'm just saying, though, that on top of that, is that a lot of dudes, they act like something is wrong with you if you're not a pussy worshiper. Like, for real, I haven't heard it in a minute because I'm a grown man, right? I haven't heard it in a minute. But some dudes, back when you was younger, some cats be acting like, oh yeah, but I get pussy though. Look what you do for it. Like, for real, you have to devalue yourself in order to even get attention from women. You can't even be you and pull a chick. You think I really want some coochie where I gotta sit up here and be disrespected, or I gotta cater to some broad? I gotta sit up here and tell this broad that she's cute when she's really not. You know what I'm saying? She out here looking like a fly, and you talk about some she's beautiful. Man, flies are not attractive. You ever seen a fly? If you ever got a chance to look at a fly, like, just Google flies. They're ugly. But you out here on some wrong way. Almost got hit right there. But yeah, but it's a lot of dudes that's condoning it. And another thing that I want to say is that I'm really not one of those people who try to blame men for everything, because I'm sick of it. That's what people do. They blame men for everything, right? So they say that it's whatchamacallit's fault. They say that it's men's fault that women are acting like this. And I'm like, yeah, somewhat, but all the blame isn't on us. And that's why I'm addressing these simps, because it's their fault for pushing these behaviors forward, for agreeing with these, being passive with these kind of women. So it is men's fault, only on that. But it's not like men told women initially to act like that. I just said in my last video that when it came to the feminist movement, females requested a change. Men had no problem with the way things were before. And now things are getting bad, right? You have certain men that's just in denial just because a woman has a coochie. It's, what they call it is the pussy pass. So a lot of dudes are just agreeing with whatever a woman does, even if she isn't no good. She could be a raggedy person, and she could be using her past as a woman to behave a certain way, and it's these dudes out here agreeing with her. That's our fault. But what's not our fault is for them acting like that in the first place. All right? So I want to address that, right? Because I'm not about to sit up here and take the blame. I'm a big fan of let somebody live. Let them live. I'm a big fan of that. All right? So now when it comes down to it, because people want to talk about solutions, you know what I'm saying? And men, we are the gender of solutions. So when things need to be fixed, or when things need to be built, guess who does it? Us, right? But I'm not with this one. You know what I'm saying? Me talking about this, and if I talk to a woman and she's willing to listen to me, I help her. I help people on an individualistic basis. I'm not out here to save the world. I'm not a revolutionist. I'm not a hero. Okay? So I'm not about to sit up here and take too much blame off of anybody for any reason at all. You know what I'm saying? So anywho's, they try to make it seem like men have to do something. I'm with the crowd that says, know what? How about you just remove yourself? Let them do what they need to do. Because I'm not about to get involved. So when it comes down to all of this and all of that, at the end of the day, I say men should walk away. I don't identify as MGTOW or any one of these other movements that's walking away from women. I don't identify with those movements, but that really is the smartest thing to do. Because the first thing you should do is that if you're a simp, right, stop simping. Okay? If you're acting like one of Jezebel's eunuchs, stop acting like that. You know what you need to do? You need to start looking within yourself, because you got your own life to live as a person. Before gender, you're a person. Before anything else, before physicality, before age, before none of that, you're a spirit. So make sure you look after you first. All right? Now, when you start doing that, then you realize that when it comes down to the problems of the world, which ones are your problems and which ones can you help? And like I just said, which ones do you contribute to? If you're a simp, or if you're on that white knight, and if you're a pussy worshiper, you're contributing to the problem. If women could treat you however they want to treat you, or act however they want to act around you, and you condone it, you're part of the problem, okay? Stop being part of the problem, because you don't have to be part of the solution. You know what I'm saying? I say, let women act however they want to act. But I'm telling you that I could feel what people are saying when they try to blame men for this one, but it's not all our fault. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, some people believe that women are children. Whatever. I don't care. When I look at women, I see adults. So let that adult act like that. I don't kick it with disrespectful people. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about what I'm saying right now, is that it's a matter of mutuality. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of those dudes I'm not one of those dudes who's out here. I'm not even sexually active, dude. I'm really not. I'm not even sexually active. I don't care about no coochie like that. I care about the quality of the coochie that I get, if I'm going to get some. Now, I don't be out here on no coochie. So with that being said, I'm not tripping off of that. And then, so I can't let no female sit here and treat me some type of crazy way, because I'm not after your coochie. That's a lot of times when women act the way they do, it's because some dude is trying to get in their pants, or he think that he might be able to. So he let the woman act a certain way. I done told a couple of females this. I told them, like, listen here. Ain't no man gonna put up with your crap at all if he's not sexually interested in you. He's not gonna put up with it. I'm one of those dudes. You know what I'm saying? Even if I am sexually interested in a woman, I don't want your coochie so bad that you could talk crazy to me, lie to me, manipulate me. You know what I'm saying? And as far as you women out there, just because you could do something and act a certain way and nobody says nothing, that doesn't make it right. It don't make it right. But anywho, that's the end of the video. I'm out of time. With that being said, I'm about to drop another one. I ain't playing. We getting this series out the way. Outro.